Today, we are going to talk about an interesting housing market model with its creator. This model helps us understand how buying and selling houses affects people's money. So, let's start our conversation with a brief introduction from you, as viewers might be curious to learn more about the person behind this model. So, can you please tell us a bit about yourself for those watching?
Hello, my name is Jaffa Applegate. I am a co-lead of the Complexity Economics Lab here at ASU. We're in the School of Complex Adaptive Systems. And I work with lots of issues having to do with housing. I do some work on finance and monetary circuit. I do work with wages, labor dynamics.
My first question about the main purpose of this model. Could you explain the purpose behind developing the general housing model and what you aim to achieve with it?
Okay, so this was kind of trying to kill two birds with one stone. So way back when I developed this model in end of 2019, 2020, it was intended to be used as one of the models for the then agent-based modeling winter school that took place in Tempe, which is why it needed to be coded in NetLogo because that was the platform for the school. At the same time, we were trying to figure out what was going on with housing in Maricopa County in general. And we had some ideas that we had multiple demands that the existing housing stock was trying to meet. So you had demands for people wanting to move into houses to live in them. Then you also had an investment market where people were looking to buy houses as a place to park their money. And then we were really curious about how these dynamics affected developer decisions for what to build. So when people were deciding what to build, which market were they trying to address? So that we were just basically trying to throw a bunch of things together and figure out if we could discern anything useful toward those questions once we started modeling the actual dynamics of housing.
So did you have a specific research questions, at the beginning of the modeling process, or did it evolve during modeling and analysis?
Well, when I do modeling, a lot of times I have a general question, but then once I start getting into the dynamics, my questions start solidifying a bit.
So what's the difference of this model with others similar models? I mean, can you elaborate on how this model differs from or builds upon previous models in this field?
So I looked at two models in particular to build this one. So one was Rob Axtell's model from 2014 called an agent-based model of the housing market bubble in metropolitan Washington, D.C. So if you're familiar with Axtell's work, he tends to do very empirically based models around particular locations, for example. I also looked at Nigel Gilbert's model from 2009, which is an agent-based model of the English housing market. I'd also talked to some people who had built the housing model that the Bank of England uses. Right. So I think that my model is going to be different because we're actually looking at stock. And none of these other models really address the creation of stock.
So what were the main challenges you faced while developing this model?
Was it was very complicated.
Actually, yes, exactly.
It was very complicated to make. So if you look at the flow chart that's in the ODD, it doesn't look that complicated. But if you look at the NetLogo code, it is very complicated. So anytime, so there's houses, there's households, and then I needed to create records, which are like the ledgers of figuring out details about what transactions occurred, things like that. I've only got one bank. You could add more. But I'm not particularly interested in the mortgage dynamics. I think there's many more interesting dynamics at play in housing markets than mortgage rates. That's not to say that mortgage rates don't affect housing prices or demand. They do, but I think that's pretty clearly understood. Working with NetLogo for this particular model, because it was so complicated, was challenging. So one of the reasons I haven't moved forward yet with putting the developer's end is twofold. First of all, we needed to do a lot of empirical research for Maricopa County in general. So we've been developing these housing stocks, getting to know zoning codes, and getting a real sense of how the zoning and development rules and restrictions play in the housing market, such that we would be able to code something that's sensible. The second thing I need to do is I'm going to port this into Python. So we've started that process already, but it will make the coding, I think, a lot more straightforward. NetLogo is a really amazing tool, but if you're trying to do a very empirically based, complicated model like this, I think it becomes more of a burden than it's worth.
So let's discuss the main results in more detail. So what are the main insights or findings that emerge from analyzing this model?
Right. Okay, so one of the most important dynamics that I have found in order to try to get as many people into housing as possible is you have to have a housing market that will adjust prices of houses according to demand in a particular way. So right now, the demand or the price for the house is adjusted on time on market. So, for example, if houses are selling within a month, new people who bring houses to the market will adjust their price upward because the market is considered to be hot. Yet every time a price is adjusted upward for a house, it locks out a bunch of people that have too low an income to meet those houses. So you end up with more people that are unhoused. And this isn't to mean they're living in a tent on a street. It just means that in the model, they don't particularly happen to be in a house. So we end up with a lot of people that are unhoused when you have a very restrictive price setting. So for example, if your price changes is only 1%, so the changes isn't going to happen very much, then you end up having a lot more people unhoused. Whereas if you do the maximum change, you end up with the lowest number of people that are unhoused. And this is just because the prices are actually adjusting much more drastically to conditions. And really the conditions are simply how long are you on the market? So if your house is on the market for a long time, you're going to adjust your price down. However, if houses around you in general, the median time is really quick, you're going to adjust your price up. So that is a really interesting balance, trying to get the plus and minus. I think it's really interesting that we see the affordability ratio by income. That graph is very revealing. So you have the lower income pushing up into what we have as the maximum affordability rate, which is 66%. And then you see that the homeowners actually fall out of that graph completely because affordability ratio is the amount you're paying for housing divided by your income. And if you've paid off your mortgage, you're not paying anything for housing. So it ends up being that you just have renters.
So you discussed the affordability problem in housing. So my question is, how do you think the results of this model can help policymakers to have a sustainable housing market system?
Well, hopefully it'll be very useful once we code in the developers and the investment market. I often think that models like this, and again, this is the reason why NetLogo is very valuable, because you actually see little houses changing colors indicating status, so you get an idea that you're looking at a dynamic in real time.
Exactly.
I think it's important for people to be able to understand the trade-offs between addressing the various demands for housing. So again, there's a dual, maybe even a triple market for housing. There's three types of people that buy houses for three different reasons. For example, I'd mentioned that you have people that want to buy houses for investment. You have people that buy houses as second homes or third homes, not necessarily for investment, but just because it's considered to be a safe place to store money. And then the third reason, of course, is what we think of housing as normally, which is a place for people to live, raise their families, etc. So I think it's really important for policymakers to see that you have these multiple markets.
So because you have made the model available on comsys.net, and what challenges did you encounter for this in terms of making the models accessible and reusable for others in the process?
So getting a model onto comsys.net is super easy. And I think having an ODD documentation is invaluable. I love pulling models off ComSys for that reason. I know it's going to be documented, and I know that it's going to behave as advertised. So I think that's great. The biggest challenge I have with ComSys in general is that it's very difficult to modify or update a model. So it's not like GitHub, where you just basically upload a new model on GitHub. It replaces the old one, or you can call it another version, and it sits in the same tree as the old one. And then you just put a note that say, hey, I updated the model and I did this, this, and this, and this. But no, I think ComSysNet is great. I mean, I love to get models from them. And the requirement for the documentation is super valuable.
Have you had any feedback or responses from the academic or professional community regarding your model? And if so, please explain about that.
So I've had a couple people, download it, so I know it's being used, but no, nobody's reached out to me with questions. Again, it was for the winter school, so lots of people were engaging with it there. So I had lots of conversations with people about how you would implement the developers or how you would implement the investment market, because that's what the students were attempting to do here.
So thank you. Thank you for sharing your insights and the helpful details about the general housing model. And your contributions are invaluable to advancing our understanding of housing markets and their broader social and economic impacts. Thank you.